I'm Henry Dales, and I witnessed the murder of Charlie Kirk.
When that happened, my mind kept replaying the moments and the sound.
And I hear a crack pop off.
I was a sniper and I had that sort of training. I was surprised that anyone thought he was a professional. If a pro would have done it, this case would have never been solved.
My name is Natalie Clausen, and I was here at UVU the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. But he was right over here. They had him in a tent area. This whole place was full of people, so the whole scenery looked so much different. And this whole pavilion area was full, but then all the way back too, and then a lot of these overhangs, like a lot of the, there were people up above over here, people over there, on every viewpoint. Everybody wanted to see people in the windows, like everybody wanted to be part of this. We were so excited to see Charlie. We're big fans of Charlie Kirk in our family. In fact, my parents were there and 3 of my sisters came, and we brought our children. So we had about 10 kids of us, of my nieces and nephews, and 2 of my own kids that were here this day. The tent was right over in this area. It looked a lot different that day. This was all in grass. So since then, I believe it was a Sunday right after they came in and paved it all over.
I do not believe that God the Father, the Spirit, and the Son are separate. I believe they are one in the Trinity.
Then after a few minutes, I was kind of back in far enough I couldn't really see Charlie where I was, so I moved over to over this direction so I could see him closer and get a better view. So I walked over here with 2 of my kids, and that's where we were when we heard the shot.
We're not counting gang violence. Great.
Instantly, my kids and I were separated from each other, which was just, I look back at that moment and think, how did that happen? How did we lose each other so quickly? We were together right here, and then we moved just with the whole crowd of people into the building that direction. And then we were separated right after that. We had my other daughter, who's a 9th grader. She was here, and then she left and couldn't find us, and her phone wasn't working. She found some college students and said, could I go with you? I can't find my mom. And they said, you can come with us.
You hear the shot, which came from this roof up here, is that right?
Uh-huh.
I think is the most unbelievable thing about the shooting. It's just a quick glance up to see somebody on the roof, which should have raised concern pretty quickly. I just find it pretty hard to believe that not even one single person looked up there.
Did you see anything suspicious that day?
I did not see a lot of law enforcement. I didn't see anybody that I was aware of. We saw law enforcement come after the shooting. We saw people like SWAT team type people come afterwards. But during it, I didn't see anything. It wasn't until I would go home and see videos of other people. I didn't see a shooter on the roof or any of those things. I saw a lot of protesters who were up above, people that were kind of in the crowd who were saying things. But I do have concerns. I think that a lot of the information that we're giving doesn't seem to make sense. And again, like with Charlie's legacy, I think we should be able to ask questions. I think we should be careful not to point fingers at people. We've seen a lot of that happening too. But we should be able to ask questions, and I want the FBI to do a thorough search on it.
So did Charlie have a big impact on your generation? Did a lot of people know who he was and listen to him?
Yeah, I know a bunch of people from my school and friends who've always listened to him. I'm just a little younger than who he was going for. I'm not college age yet, but even people younger and all around this generation are we're trying to listen to him. And
I feel like I went through a lot of shock with probably the rest of the world. It was shock, especially being here when that happened. My mind kept replaying the moments and the sound and trying to imagine that is what happened here in Utah. And this campus is such a beautiful place, and there are so many wonderful people here.
How did you and your friends react when you heard that he died?
Just unbelievable. It took me a while to realize that it actually happened, and I don't know, it was really hard for everyone involved.
Therefore, to say we are all Charlie is not rhetoric. It's not propaganda.
Do you trust the official story from the FBI?
I mean, I have a lot of questions about it. I think the text messages seemed a little strange, and I think the narrative that we've been told through the media, that he was on the roof and he assembled the gun and then unassembled it and then left in the woods, and a lot of those things to me don't make sense. So I recognize that the FBI has information that we don't have information, and that the attorneys and the defense team and prosecutors, so we don't see the full picture. I recognize that, but I do think that there are a number of outstanding questions out there that the public needs to know the answers to.
I'm Henry Dels, and I witnessed the murder of Charlie Kirk. I think Charlie, for me, showed me how to be firm in my beliefs and not to be afraid of my beliefs. He taught me to have the courage to stand up for what I believe in. So I did. And I stood up against my own role model. I presented what my question was going to be. They asked like 20 others, and they were like, "You're going to go first."
Would you say that the fundamental claim of Christianity is on the basis of the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ?
In addition to the creation of the world.
All right, so are those objectable things you can prove with empirical evidence?
Yes.
So you got to ask your question, what happened next?
I grabbed my bag, told Charlie thanks for the conversation, all that stuff. I turned around and I was like, okay, well, I'll figure this out here in a little bit. I want to listen to what Charlie's saying to this next person. And I hear a crack pop off. And for like 2 seconds, it seemed fine whenever I was looking around. Then I looked to the right of me and I saw Charlie leaning back and then over, but also seeing a bunch of blood gushing out of his neck, which I'm 15 feet away and I can clearly see it was his neck.
Did you see anything suspicious when you were at the event?
The weirdest thing for me was understanding the recent history within our nation when it came to political violence, and the fact that there was no drones and there was very little security.
Some of the people online have said that there was a trap door, which was actually where the murderer sprung out from, that people in maroon shirts were part of some maybe intelligence service. You know, there's a lot of other suspicious activities happening that day. Did you see any of this stuff?
No. And I get the trap door thing, like that's like right next to where Charlie would have been. From my understanding, that would have been way too obvious if something or someone would have opened up and assassinated him from there or whatever, because like you have thousands of eyes and tons of people recording.
What is your message to those online who are spreading these conspiracy theories, who are claiming that foreign governments are involved or that even the FBI was involved? Do you think those people are honoring Charlie?
No, no way.
Hi.
Afternoon.
Greg, good to meet you.
Nice
Stephen.
to meet you. Nice to meet you, Stephen.
So can you just start by saying your name and
Sure.
a bit about your career, just one sentence?
Greg Rogers, retired from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, was there for 30 years, and now I'm a professor in criminal justice at Utah Valley University.
So can you take us through your career, some of the kind of responsibilities that you had?
The last 12 years of my career, I was a full-time undercover working with biker gangs, militia groups. I did a lot of cases where I'd get hired to kill people. I did a lot of hitman cases.
So when Charlie was shot, immediately there was theories about who did it,
Right.
what happened, why it happened. Even before they arrested someone they accused
Right.
of murdering him.
Right.
And those theories immediately, for example, a lot of people said that this was a professional job.
I was a sniper and I had that sort of training. I was surprised that anyone thought he was a professional. That theory was nonsense because he made mistake after mistake. It couldn't have been more amateurish. He was wearing all black, laying on a white roof. He would have been easily seen. It was not a good shot, and we could go into all sorts of detail about that, the ballistics and everything else, but it was poor shot from a short distance. No trained assassin leaves their weapon at the crime scene. That it doesn't happen.
So immediately you knew this was an amateur.
Yes.
And this couldn't have been, for example, a foreign government
Right.
hiring a hitman to kill Charlie Kirk. So we can rule that out.
We can rule that out. As I mentioned to you, I had did a number of hitman cases undercover, and I would explain to the people that were hiring me how this was going to happen. And when you hire a pro who knows what they're doing, none of the things that he did you'd have never seen it. You'd have had no idea where the round came from, and he'd have been gone.
Okay, so I'm going to take you through some of the conspiracy theories, and maybe you can debunk or agree with them. I don't know.
Sure.
Joe Rogan, the podcaster, said that Tyler Robinson, this is the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk, maybe he's a patsy. They said that he took the gun apart and put it back together again. Do you know how much time it would take to disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack?
You can take a gun apart and put it in a backpack in about 30 seconds. If you aren't trained and have no idea what you're doing, it should take you about a minute.
Okay, so this is a 3-in-1 conspiracy, so I'm going to give you, they're all different, but they're basically the same. The military was involved, in other words, the US military was involved. The French Foreign Legion were involved. This person claims that the French Foreign Legion sort of trained the assassin, or Mossad was involved because Charlie Kirk was becoming more anti-Israel in the last few months of his life. So French Foreign Legion, Mossad, or the US military were involved somehow in his assassination.
I did a lot of training with military snipers. Military snipers can shoot someone from 1,000 yards any day of the week. It's an easy shot for them. They train at that range all the time. If it were a Mossad, certainly, or a military sniper, they would have been so far away that Kirk would have fallen over dead with a headshot before anybody even heard the bullet go off, because the speed of sound is a whole lot slower than the round. So it's he'd have dropped over. About a second later, you'd have heard a very faint sound of, maybe you might have heard it because it had been a good distance away, and that person would have been packed up and gone. There would have been zero evidence left. If a pro would have done it, this case would have never been solved.
Do you expect that there will be more left-wing terrorists attempting to kill conservatives in the years to come?
Yes, I do. People like that are in militia groups or that are in far-left extremist groups, they're looking for a reason. And I hung out with them for years, so I can say this with assurance. They don't need a whole lot of reason to do what they want to do. So if you convince someone that a politician is really a fascist, or that they're going to take all sorts of your rights away, that gives someone who's already an extremist an excuse to act out. Unfortunately, now, the type of undercover work I did is very, very difficult with these younger left-wing groups, because any younger FBI agent grew up in a time where their pictures and stuff are all over social media, and these left-wing groups are very, very savvy.
Since Charlie was murdered, there have been some online who have suggested that there is a conspiracy here, that it's connected with maybe the Israeli government, maybe with the FBI, maybe with some other institutions that wanted Charlie dead. What do you make of some of these conspiracies?
What we're witnessing now is that the dark side of independent media, with podcasts having boomed into such a huge industry that it is now, basically any idea can be discussed, and the more inflammatory, the more sensational gets most clicks. For those who find the so-called conspiracy theories fun to engage with as like thought experiments, I would just urge them to really consider what happens when cases are tried in the court of public opinion, when things get completely out of control. Just think about, for example, the trial of Derek Chauvin, the former police officer who was accused and then convicted of killing George Floyd. And ask yourselves, do you think that the lack of the court's control in that case allowed for Chauvin to have a fair trial? And his example is not the only one. There are many others where when there's so much information that is released out, the accused cannot have a fair trial anymore, where the whole entire process gets corrupted, where you cannot find a juror who hasn't come across all this information and opinions that have been put out publicly. There's a lot at stake here. And whilst the right is being taken in by sort of these hypotheses and conspiracy theories that make them essentially schizophrenic, you have those on the left who are continuing to call and urge for deadly violence. And all the attention has been taken away on discussing that as a real phenomenon.
What did Charlie Kirk mean to you?
To me personally, he was someone that was very hateful. He was very prejudiced against ethnic minorities, against people of other genders, and he only portrayed that hate.
How did you feel when you heard that he had been murdered?
When it comes to the murder itself, I did not feel anything. For me, my anger was more because what had happened turned our campus into a political hot seat. We just kept getting berated with conspiracy theories.
Why didn't it sort of create an emotion in you then? Because obviously Charlie was a father and a husband. I presume you agree it was a tragedy that he was killed.
I agree that it was a tragedy, but as an ethnic minority myself, I'm Middle Eastern, and he has spewed countless things that are Islamophobic, and countless other things that were against other ethnic minorities. So for me to see that he had gotten shot, it did not stir up any emotions in me.
Do you think that some of the rhetoric around, calling him like a fascist and a Nazi and stuff like that maybe led to his murder? Because on the bullet casings, he wrote, "Catch this fascist," and so on, and, the sort of anti-fascism ideology.
I do believe Charlie Kirk was a fascist, and I do believe that his ideologies led to him being murdered. I don't believe that being murdered for your ideology is right in any means, but to say that it didn't have a part in it is not true.
It didn't feel real. Like that first probably week, it just didn't feel real. I used to watch his show, the Charlie Kirk show, and I was just like, it's fine, he'll be on the next episode.
There's been a lot of speculation online about conspiracies over his death and who was involved in his murder. Have you heard about any of these conspiracy theories?
Yes, I've seen all sorts of stuff on the internet. I think anyone insinuating that Erica Kirk had anything to do with it is grossly mistaken. To be putting his widow, the mother of his children, under such a gruesome spotlight is horrid.
When he got shot at the school and everything like that, it definitely affected a lot of people here. And I think it's just was a pretty messed up way to go. And I don't think it should have happened at a university. I think there should be a lot more control at the school.
And what do you make of these online conspiracies about the shooting, that other people were involved or the government was involved or things like that?
Well, personally, I really don't think it's any conspiracy or anything like that. I don't think it was a planned shooting or anything, like they just wanted to kill Charlie Kirk just for the sake of it, or they were just trying to scare people and barely miss it. But honestly, I just couldn't say anything about that. That's just out of my realm right now.
To be honest, I wasn't super into all of it. But I definitely feel like he helped a lot of people. I know that it was really important for a lot of people. I think he had a lot of really good values. And he helped, especially the younger generation, people my age, to care about politics and have free speech. So I thought that was pretty important as well.
And what do you make of some of these online conspiracy theorists who's claiming that this is the government or Mossad or
Honestly, I have no idea. I mean, I've seen some of them, and I think definitely some of them are wrong because I was here, and so I know that some of them didn't happen.
What did Charlie Kirk mean to you?
He had a lot of good points, and for me, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he was very supportive of like the missionaries and just like being a good godly man and a good husband, and someone I look up to.
What do you make of some of these online conspiracy theories that are claiming that, the government were involved in his death or that other people were involved?
I don't know. I'd have to do more research on it, so I don't really have an opinion on that, but I think no.
What do you think Charlie Kirk's overall legacy will be to America, to American politics?
I think he'll be remembered forever and go down in history.
My name is Kai Schwemmer. I'm a child of God and a political commentator from the state of Utah. I'm a Salt Lake native.
How influential was he on college campuses? How influential was Turning Point USA here in America?
Hugely. Here at UVU, obviously, there was already a large presence, but post his assassination, like the organizations across all of the different campuses in Utah have exploded. Like they have gone nuts. Membership has risen a ton. And prior to that, I mean, these were events that you would hear about all the time. And I recall going to an America Fest event, I think in 2022 or 2021, prior to my mission service. And you'd be there and you would see like some friend from college or from a class. And it was surprising. Like you got a sense for just how large scaled his movement was.
When Charlie was murdered, we saw thousands of people online celebrating his death on the left.
Yeah.
This is almost all on the left. What did you make of that? I mean, this is a bizarre reaction.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what we need to be saying to anybody who wants to talk about who killed Charlie Kirk. And there were leftists who were attempting to claim that it was a further right faction of the right wing that killed Charlie Kirk. Those accusations don't matter because in reality, what we saw was only and purely leftists championing, cheering on, or not caring at all about the death of Charlie Kirk. There was not a single right-winger that I saw that was happy that he had died. Whether they agreed with him in his life or not, whether they were adversarial towards him or not, nobody on the right wing that I saw, and I engage a lot with that sphere, that's my job, nobody that I saw was cheering his death on. Leftists, on the other hand, absolutely were. They were rushing, not 24 hours after his death, not even before his body was cold. They had already gone and tried to qualify his death, trying to excuse it by saying, well, this is a tragedy, but he was a racist. The only reason that people do that is to strip you of your sympathy.
So after Charlie was murdered, we did see a lot of people celebrate his death. Has that celebration of his death by some on the left been significant since he was murdered on the 10th of September?
Oh, 100%. You can see the celebration of his death just move through the entire left like a wave. I even had friends of mine that were somewhat moderate that said, I'm glad to see a racist dead, and I was just mind blown. These are my friends. And I'm like, really? And they're saying things like, well, I would never sit at the dinner table with a Nazi, almost likening him to a Hitlerian character. And that's based off of these clippings that they get from mainstream news where they take it out of context, him talking about, the race of pilots and things like that. So it's just unbelievable how far people were willing to take this, how much there's like a lack of honor for life anymore.
I'm State Representative Trevor Lee. I represent District 16 here in Utah, which is up by Hill Air Force Base in Layton.
Now, you obviously are a conservative politician here in Utah. We saw the assassination attempts against Donald Trump last year, obviously the successful assassination of Charlie. Are you concerned that more politicians, more conservative figures on the right will be targeted by far left assassins, by, frankly, far left terrorists who believe they're killing Hitler or believe they're killing fascists?
Yeah, it will never end unless we are able to rid out that rhetoric, right? People have the First Amendment, the right to speak and say what they want. But when you have leaders of our country who are actively saying things like, Charlie Kirk is like Hitler and Trump is like Hitler, and these people are fascists and they're Nazis, and we will lose our democracy if these people are not eliminated or if they're not taken out. That is what is driving this violence towards Republicans and conservatives. And I believe it is completely one-sided on that.
Do you think, in a sense, the assassination has succeeded in that the American right has lost one of its most influential, most important players, both electorally and through the media realm?
Yeah, I think as of now, we have, unfortunately. I mean, Charlie was one of one. There is no one like him. There are people who are great at debating, people who have gotten up there and advocated for conservative, values and principles. We have other media companies that have sprung up, but there is no other Charlie Kirk out there. And unfortunately, a lot of what I've seen is that Charlie was a lot of the glue that held us together. As we have many different factions of the Republican Party now, and so much of a divide. Charlie was always someone you could look to give you that common sense approach of like, okay, guys, we need to come together on this. We need to build bridges. I mean, one of the things he did that was so instrumental with the 24 campaign of Donald Trump was bringing RFK and the Maha movement in. That was Charlie Kirk who did that. And who knows how many other important relationships and people he brought in because of who he is. I don't know if we're ever going to recover from that. I think we had a moment and it was great. And I think what it has done, which is positive, has brought a lot of people back to God and back to their roots of their Christian faith, or those who may not have had it have been learning or trying to look into that. That part has been great. But I think as for a leader of that generation and that movement, I think that's gone, and it's really unfortunate.
You can support free speech and help keep fearless journalism alive in Britain by becoming a GB News member. Enjoy less ads, premium your say, and participate in members-only polls. Plus, get a direct line to our newsroom with behind-the-scenes access and opportunities to meet our top stars, like yours truly. Get closer to the news, the debate, and the people behind it. Become a GB News member today by going to gbnews.com/support.